guys. So today we are going to talk a little bit about one of the books that I've read that has completely changed and shaped the way that I conduct business, what I think in my business, what I do in my business, and how I act in my business. And I want to share that book with you. And I want to give you a little bit of information about how it changed me. Okay. So it is Amanda Francis and it is Rich AF, right? Because that's what I have to put. So Amanda Francis, Rich AF, and I will drop a link to the book if you're interested in purchasing it. One of the things I'm currently working on is I'm creating a mastermind class. I'm creating a mastermind class on 4 books that have really, really shaped my mindset, my productivity, the way that I think about business, the way that I think about myself, the way that I do things, because they were so profound for me. I know that they'll change other people's lives and for the better. And so I'm working to put a mastermind class together. And that will be where you will receive one of the 4 books. Okay. And so the homework will be for a 3-month period. So in 3 months, you're going to read one book, and then the next 3 months, you read the next book, and so forth. Okay. One of those books will be Amanda Francis, Rich AF. I've gone through and I've highlighted some of my favorite parts about it, some of the questions that I had. Amanda does a really good job of giving like great journaling homework and thought provoking homework. But I have created a workbook to go along with that book. So it's structured where you'll read a couple of chapters, you'll do activities, you'll do some journaling, and really wrap your mind around the concepts that Amanda is teaching in her book. So those will be available soon. Once those are available, I'll drop the link in the description. Or you can sign up for the masterclass and we can do it all together. So right now we are going to talk about this one. Okay. This has been the biggest change for my business. So I found out about Amanda Francis relatively early on in our business. I was listening to a podcast, Inbox Besties. I'm like, why can't I think of it? Inbox Besties. And on there, she was talking about the host was talking about how like she couldn't wrap her mind around like making more money. Like she felt guilty for making more money. She felt guilty about charging.
6
And
months,
how
you can
oh
send out
my
a message daily if you wanted to your users.
Like encourage.
wow, cool. Sorry about that. That was really weird. And it's on silent. So I don't even know how I started my book or my podcast I was listening to. As a matter of fact, I was listening to Social Media Examiner. It is a really great podcast. It is all about using social media in your business. So there you go. I was learning about setting up automated chats and FAQs in Facebook Messenger, and then how you can do that in Instagram. But once I know more, I can share that with you. It is episode, I don't think it tells me on here what episode it is. I don't know. It's on my background on my phone. Like all of a sudden my phone has been doing this like update or whatever. But yeah, so I learned about Amanda Francis from Kate Doster, and she is from the Inbox Bestie. And she was just talking about how she was struggling with charging more, struggling with charging people for the information that she had. She is an email marketing expert and a copywriter, and she's like, it just comes naturally to me. So I feel bad charging people for that. And she's like, I've put that behind me. I am now ready to really grow my business. And it's all thanks to Amanda Francis. She's like, she teaches on money and mentality. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me look this girl up. So I looked Amanda up, and she has a podcast. It's called And She Rises. And I started listening to the podcast. And I really liked what she had to say. Let me back up. So I liked what she had to say, but it took some time. Okay. It took some time for my mom and my sister both to get on board with Amanda. I warred with it for a little bit. So Amanda Francis is very, she's spiritual. I'm not a spiritual person. Sorry if that offends you. I don't mean to be offensive, but I'm not. She's a very spiritual person. And so like at first, like I had to work through that. And on top of that, she does a lot of things like manifesting, putting it out there to the universe, letting it be, and it will come to you. And I was just like, I like that. My science brain cannot compute to that, right? Having faith and believing in things like stuff like that, I struggle with. I no longer do. My husband had made fun of me in the beginning too, because he's like, oh yeah, kumbaya, it all works out. And I'm like, no, that's actually not the teaching of Amanda. Amanda Francis's teaching isn't like, oh, if I say I want it done, it gets done. But it is that, but it's a sense that there's there's so much more to it. I can't even explain the rest of it, but it comes down to believing in yourself, setting boundaries and expectations for the way that your life gets to be, holding that boundary and expectation, not jumping because you're desperate for things, right? Like not clawing and trying to hold on to things out of desperation, letting things go so that the right things can come your way. One of the biggest things about manifestation, okay, because I am an analytical person, and manifestation was like a hippie thing to me, right? And don't get me wrong, like I can be very hippie, like I wanted to have a water birth, things like that, like okay, but like I needed something tangible. I needed to know how it connected and that it was like a true thing and like what that meant. And this is how I look at manifestation. Manifesting is putting it out there of what you want, right? And once you put it out there, you start to identify ways to get what you want, right? So I want to make 5,000 this month, right? You make 5,000 and you're like, okay, that was really hard. I want to make 5,000, but I don't want it to be that hard. Like, what do I do to make that happen? Well, first, I believe that it can happen. And then I start to find the ways that it happens, right? Like, that's what true manifestation is like knowing that it can happen that way, believing that it can happen that way, and then allowing the things to line up, taking the opportunities, making the choices, and doing the things not out of desperation, but out of knowing that this is the way that it happens. I know that knowing and gut and all that sounds weird, but when something arrives in your space and you're like, "Oh, duh, that's the way to do it. Oh, duh, why didn't I think of that before?" That happens so many times. So many times like in our business, we're like hitting our head up against a wall and we're like, "Why is this so hard? Why can't we make it? Like what can we do to make this easy? It should flow easy to us. It should be easy." And all of a sudden we'll have this grand epiphany like, "Oh my gosh, we should have been doing it this way." Point in case, I have a perfect example. It comes along the lines of work smarter, not harder, right? Manifestation. I want the money to flow to me easy. Well, you got to work smarter, not harder. When I first started doing this in the business, I knew I wanted to create YouTube videos. I wanted to create podcasts. I wanted to create blogs. Like that's my part of the business. I am not a baker. My mom is the baker. I love the business aspect of it. I love sharing the knowledge that we have gained through all of this. And so I was like, I want a podcast. I want the YouTube videos. I want all of these things. So I literally, no joke, would write a blog post. Then I would go on live because I've been going live in our business from the very beginning every week, even when I had nothing to talk about. Even to this day, some weeks I don't have anything to talk about. But even when I truly have nothing to talk about, I still go live. So in some of my lives, I'd like talk about what I wrote in my blog, right? So then I did this recording in this video. And then I would get off and I would record myself reading my blog. Okay. And then I would create a video to put on YouTube. There is an easier way. I actually know an easier way, and I record my live. I take my live and I reuse that. I repurpose that into podcasts. I repurpose it into YouTubes. I repurpose it into TikToks. I repurpose it into Reels. Like I reuse that crap. I work way smarter, not harder. And I actually have an entire like training course. It's only $27 teaching you exactly, showing you. I literally use my computer. I don't do a whole lot. I use the iMovie on my computer. I use Facebook to get my videos, and then I use Adobe Express, yeah, Adobe Express now because my husband has it. But before I used Canva to create images. Like seriously, I will put that link in the description as well. It's so easy to do. Again, work smarter, not harder, and that's part of the whole manifestation is knowing truly what you want and then identifying and recognizing when those opportunities come along to help you line up with that. One of the biggest things I learned from Amanda Francis. Seriously, that is what manifesting is. When people start making fun of you and like, oh, manifesting, you're like, no, that's not what manifesting. It's like, do you set goals? Do you like to chase your goals? It's the same thing. When you're manifesting, you have a goal in mind and then you let the opportunities come to you so that you can line up. And what that means is let them. It means you're not in a sense of, oh my gosh, I'm so desperate. Like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. It's, oh yeah, no, that's not a good idea. Actually, that one's a good one. I'm going to go with this one. That's what that means. That's what that setting back and like letting it come to you means. Yeah, so definitely it changed my mind about manifestation. But when I first started listening to her, when I first read the book, like I was a little apprehensive to that, right? Like, so I'm going to tell you that when you start this journey, like you have to start it with an open mind. Okay. Open mind. I'm just going to make a note here that I will drop the link for the smart work smarter, not harder training so that you guys can have that. And the link to the book. The workbook is not available yet. I will, like I said, I've it's together, it's completed. The next steps in the process is I have to have it proofread, edited, and then get it over for printing. But it will be available probably in the beginning of 2023, like the first quarter of 2023. If you're watching this past the first quarter of 2023, then the link will be in the description for you to get access to. All right, so Amanda Francis, I learned about manifesting and what it truly means to be manifesting something. Okay. Now, Amanda,